Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome again to Snacks Thoughts. I say welcome again to Snacks Thoughts. And my thought of today is the coronavirus conspiracy or coincidence? Again, the coronavirus, is it a conspiracy or is it a coincidence? Now, what brought me to this train of thought is that I was in the barbershop talking to my barber, and so he begins cutting my hair, and we had talked probably about a couple of weeks ago, and so we were talking about the coronavirus, and we really weren't paying it too much mind, but I go into the barbershop and I sit down in the chair, and he immediately starts talking about the coronavirus. He said, "Hey, you heard about the NBA or the league, being canceled and other venues and events being shut down?" And I remember when we talked a couple of weeks earlier, I said to him, and I've said it to other people, I said, this coronavirus thing, I said, I'm not saying that maybe people might not have overreacted, but I'm beginning to wonder, if there's really something going on here, and they're just not telling us. And this is just my opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, but this is my opinion. My take on it is that I thought that it just seemed kind of odd or weird that when you had China pouring all this money into the continent of Africa to boost them up, and they were going to bring Africa into the 21st century, into first world, where they would finally become wealthy. And obviously the Chinese would increase their wealth, but they were going to bring Africa, up with it. And it's no secret. We all know that the Chinese have been seeking to unseat the United States fiat dollar, the U.S. dollar, as the number world currency, and seek to replace it with the yuan. Now, you do have other countries that are seeking to do the same thing. I believe, what is it? Is it Iran trying to do something in the Middle East with the petrodollar or something like that? And they did, I believe, made a purchase, I think in either, was it gold, or it was something, don't quote me on that. So I won't say anything on that because I'm not sure. I have to go back and do my research. I apologize for that. But they did make a purchase, and it wasn't they made some type of deal, and it wasn't in the U.S. dollar. But there are other countries. You had when Gaddafi was trying to form the African Union, basically bring the different African nations together, and like they did with the European Union, form an Africa Union, and they were going to form their own currency, such as Europe did with the euro dollar. So you have these different nations that are seeking to basically they want to take the U.S. dollar, out as the number one fiat currency being used, and they're trying to replace it with other currency. And so I just found it kind of odd that China had beaten the West to the punch. They decided to build up infrastructure and put all this money into Africa, and then China's growing. Basically, they're a superpower, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. They made up tremendous ground, and the United States has fallen behind China in terms of technology. In terms of technology, China has got it. Asia, it has us beat. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, China's making all this progress. Africa is making all this progress because of China. And all of a sudden, you get this this plague or this virus that comes out of nowhere. Now, on record, obviously, they say it was scientists working in a lab, okay, on some particular virus or, something biological. And what are the chances that it would just mysteriously or by accident happen to escape and start infecting the Chinese population, and then all of a sudden it spreads to Italy and hits Europe, and then it hits different parts of the world, and now it's in the United States where people are infected that hadn't even traveled? It just doesn't it doesn't sound right. It sounds like too much of a coincidence. I mean, that's one hell of a coincidence right there. And I would hate to believe that someone would do something like this and release, biological warfare on these mass populations in the world. I really would hate to think that, but the more you look at it, it's like the stock market crashing like crazy. They've already lost trillions of dollars. You have the NBA suspended their season. Then you have Major League Baseball. They have put their opening day on hold until further notice. Now, I don't know for what their period is, but you got Major League Sports or entertainment is stopping. There have been other concerts that have stopped. Schools have been closed. You have people going crazy, buying up all the supplies. Shelves are empty. And especially going crazy over water and toilet paper. But, I'm looking at this and basically we have a global pandemic that's going on. And so I'm like, okay, if it's a coincidence, it's like, I find it hard to believe that something like this would the timing of it, and it would start in China when China is on I'm talking about, they are on an astronomical rise to become the number one superpower. But they are a superpower, nevertheless, and they are here to stay. But and then they were going to bring Africa up to a first world economy. They were going to be wealthy, on par with the West. And so you have a pandemic like this that all of a sudden is released. And so I don't know. It just sounds really kind of fishy to me. Stranger things have happened, but this right here is the strangest thing that we've ever faced before. AIDS wasn't like this. The Ebola virus wasn't like this. This particular coronavirus, it can actually mutate. So you can actually get cured of it, or heal from it, and then it can come back, and it can also mutate into, different strands, or it can morph. So I don't know yet. I am wondering, what are we really dealing with here? What are we really dealing with here? If it was a conspiracy, what's the plot? Is it to shave down the numbers is it population control? And then the flip side to that, well, why would they want to slow down the population when they're having a decline in birth rates worldwide? So, there's two sides to that question or to that coin. Is it because maybe to wipe off some of the population because maybe all nations can't pay their debts off, and maybe they don't have enough money in their social programs to sustain these aging populations or the next generation? Could that be it? I'm hoping and praying that it's just a coincidence, because if that were the case, that would be awfully cruel to do something like that. And if this right here is an accident, then it is definitely a lesson learned, to those that are in science or even in the military about containment. Now, normally with the military, because I'm prior military, normally if we had something like that and we were working on something like that, we would have had it in a facility that would have been secured. We would have put that in a top secret facility, and it would have been probably somewhere way out in the middle of the desert or something like that, or somewhere where there's a lot of land, probably in the desert, or in an environment where it wouldn't be able to replicate or grow. Now, it depends, this coronavirus, what it is. Is it a pathogen? In the military, they do train us to deal with chemical and biological warfare. So it depends. This virus, what is it? Obviously, it's not a nerve agent. So if it's similar to the flu, it's gonna attack the lungs and the respiratory area. So I don't know. I don't know if you maybe might consider it a pathogen, but there's obviously different ways to kill off certain viruses or even biochemical logical warfare. But the main thing what you want to do is contain it, and you want to be able to kill the environment in which it's able to reproduce. Certain bacteria or microorganisms, they are able to thrive and immensely replicate and feed in certain environments. So if you have, say, a bacteria or organism that fastly replicates an environment where there's a lot of water, well, then common sense would tell you take the water out of the environment, or whatever it is that might be in the air, change the environment with which it replicates and reproduces, and that will slow it down and eventually kill it off. But that's just something just brief, what I'm thinking. So, I'm quite sure they're researching this, but I don't know. But I would, if that had been military, we definitely would have put it in a top secret security, and that the lab would have been secured so that it would have very little chance of escaping out into the environment where people and plant life and animals are. Would have very little chance of escaping, where it could reproduce and become a hazard or a danger to the regular population and the masses. But I don't know. But it's just a lesson learned. Whatever the Chinese were doing when they were working in there, if it is an accident, I felt that they should have had a much secure facility, and they should have deconned themselves before they went into the lab, and then deconned themselves before they went out. Basically, when I say decon, that's short for decontamination. They should have had a decontamination center. So this is something that we practice, that we actually use when we're in the military doing when we have to go into certain environments, or if it's chemical, biological, you actually go through a decontamination center. And so you're decon before you enter the environment, and before you leave, you go through decontamination, where they sterilize you and clean you up before you hit the regular environment back to the population. So it's just some things, that I'm thinking about. And obviously, I guess maybe they had maybe they had certain types of suits. They should have had certain types of protective clothing items, which would help further prevent them coming in contact with this virus. If something should accidentally spill, it would hit the suit, and then you basically go to the decontamination center. You take the hazardous suit or the protective suit off, and you place it in the decontamination center, and you get decon and sterilized and cleaned, and then you leave out of the environment clean. So it's just some different things. So hopefully they already have established this, or in the future, if governments are going to work on certain hazards, or in certain labs or whatever like that, with these scientists, then hopefully they'll know to utilize these protective measures in the future, so that a pandemic or something what appears to be dangerous, it can be contained, and as minimal damage or zero as possible. But I don't know. It's just something to think about, though. The coronavirus, is it a coincidence, or is it conspiracy? And I don't know, guys. The way I'm seeing how it's affecting these governments and affecting the corporate sector, it's causing things to shut down, and life worldwide as we know it. It is definitely causing a change. Is this a shift to the new world order? Is it a shift to bring down fiat currency and shift and move to digital? Are we going to cryptocurrency? It's something to think about. But I'll leave you with that for now, and please leave your comments. Share your thoughts on what you think. The coronavirus, is it a conspiracy, or is it a coincidence? You be the judge. And that's what I have for Snacks Thoughts and on this podcast. And please, guys, thanks for taking the time out to listen. And please subscribe to Snacks Thoughts. That's SNAKZTHOUGHTS. Snacks Thoughts. And you can find me on Spreaker, Blueberry, iTunes, Spotify, and other social media platforms. And also I have a YouTube channel. It's Eric Broadus YouTube. That's EricBroadus YouTube, or ericbroadusyoutube.com. And so go over there and subscribe to my channel and tap the bell so you can get future podcast subscriptions and any live streams that'll be coming out and any future videos. But thanks for listening. Please share Snacks Thoughts. Share it. Get the word out, and also share my YouTube channel. I appreciate your time, guys, and that is all I have for this podcast. Again, the coronavirus. Coincidence or conspiracy? You be the judge. That's all I have. Peace, and I'll catch you on the next one.